Silvia Polidori.
Thank you very, very much. First for the microphone, otherwise you wouldn't listen to me. And then for your warm welcome always, and I think we all share this feeling of, feeling at home with the invitation by Frank. So, hello everybody, I'm here this evening to present my last book, which is Poetry in the Age of Artificial Intelligence. It is a book, as you see, in 3 languages: Italian, which is my mother tongue, and then French and English. I wrote and I translated it, and it's my first essay because I normally write poetry. Just to make this presentation more interactive, and because this evening I feel more in the interactive way, especially after having drank some champagne. So, may I ask, among you, I already know there is a writer, I don't see David now, yes, David and writer and poet, and there is another writer or poet? Writer. Poet also? No? Okay. I make this difference because you know, we have two writers. Yes. I make this difference because this distinction, let's say, because as you know, poetry is art. So I consider poetry closer to painting, to sculpture, and so on. Writing is writing is something else, and it may be more rational and more logic and so on. And among you, I already know that there is an AI expert here, young AI expert. Is there anybody who is interested in AI or? Everybody. Okay, everybody. Okay. Then I will tell you why I wrote this book, because you would wonder why a poet writes this kind of book. So talking about artificial intelligence, especially comparing poetry and artificial intelligence, or at least wondering why poetry still should exist while we develop artificial intelligence. And in fact, I start from the end of the book, from the conclusion, which is also the input that I had at the beginning. I'm really convinced that today, especially today, poetry is a very precious tool for all of us. Of course, when I speak about poetry, I speak about all kinds of arts, because there may be people here who like drawing or express their feelings, their emotions in a different artistic way. It's the same. Poetry is done with the words, but we can do it in different ways. And I think, I'm convinced that this kind of creative expression by the human being is very, very needed today, because we are losing the more and more the creative part of life, which is actually life. It's living. It's when, and that's what I say in my book, when I write poetry, I live, in fact. It's a moment, it's the act of writing poetry. For me, it's something I was presenting yesterday and I shared this with other poets. For me, it's really an egoistic act of feeling better when I write poetry. So I think we should think about that, because we normally, and I think maybe your first idea when you saw this title was maybe, can AI produce artificial intelligence? Maybe, I'm trying to wonder, then you will ask me something. But normally, maybe the first question is this: is it possible today to produce poetry with the AI? Well, yes. And that's what I also made in this essay. It was really an empirical research. Here we have many researchers or people working in DG Research. I was also working in DG Research and the Commission. So I made a research. So I compared human poetry, in this specific case my poetry, with the poems composed by artificial intelligence. And I challenged the artificial intelligence. I said, okay, I give you this, for example, I will read you something. There is a poem on happiness. Just to make an example, I wrote a poem on happiness, which is part of my first book, and I gave to the machine two topics, which were happiness and storks, because my poem speaks about storks. So now I will read you my storks, the birds. The birds. Storks? Do I pronounce it well? Do I pronounce it well? Storks. Yes, exactly. So my poem is the following: happiness. Life continues on a stork's nest. Heartbeats of life that open up to the world. We are instruments to continue existence and to serve joy. We adapt to instincts, we follow them, confident and positive. We are free in the infinite work of life's creation, and we follow it. It's good to adapt to a perfect masterpiece and be part of it. There is nothing greater we can do. Happiness is living life as it should be. And this is my poem. So I gave this input to the... Thank you very much. Thank you. I gave these inputs to actually different applications, because as you know we have ChatGPT, but we also have some specific AIs specialized on poetry. So we have poetry generator and other similar which are in my book. And these systems produced the following. This is an example. Happiness. Bliss is not restless. Bliss is exceptionally restless. Never forget the quiet and restless bliss. And so on. Okay, I don't go far because just to put you the curiosity. Yeah. So in this case, as you can see, the application was really bad. I mean, this is all except a poem. And but in my research, I tried with other topics. For example, I wrote a book on my dog, and I gave as an input the dog and the bone, because there is a poem on my dog, son, and the bone. And the machine was much better. Why? Because of course, dogs and bones are very frequent on internet, are very used by the machine. So this is to say that there is a big difference between poetry, which was born as a human act, as a human creation. Poetry comes from ancient Greek, poiesis, to create. To create means something really new, and while the machine doesn't create, in fact, it's just putting together data which are already existing on the net. And by the way, my poems now are part of them, because of course there are many data stolen, and that's why the bone and the dog are much more usual. Maybe the AI expert can confirm. They are more, of course, more usual, more frequent than the storks. Of course, happiness, no, happiness is used, but the storks and happiness and the combination between the two is not so usual. So this is the difference, and we need to be aware of that, because of course we can produce a poem with artificial intelligence, but first of all the poem will be not a human poem, so it will, it may be good, but anyway it will live as a poem and be valuable as a poem, always thanks to the person who reads it or who listens to it. So we always go back to the emotion, which is completely absent in the machine. So the human being has this duality, which Aristotle well described in the combination between the body and the soul. We are all together. We are not only the body and so the mental thinking. The machine is only something similar to our mental thinking, and that's true. I mean, the machine, the reasoning is the same. The machine puts together data as we put together data, because we also work like this. But we have a component which is the spiritual one, which is the emotional one, which is also, you cannot neither foresee. I mean, I cannot, for example, think, I don't, when, and I share this with the poets present, I don't know when I have inspiration. I mean, I cannot click and say, okay, Silvia, now you write a poem. No, it doesn't work like this. I need, so now, for example, I feel love you, I may write a poem, but this is, you may be the source of inspiration. But this is because you touch my emotions, so I feel something. And from there, then, of course, my reasoning, of course, I need to use the words, and so I use my mental reasoning. But that's not the start, let's say. And yes, so in this book there is also a philosophical excursus at the beginning, because I really insist on identifying the human nature, because if we want to speak about poetry, we need to speak about the human nature, because poetry was born as a human act, as all the arts. I mean, they are born as human acts. Then, of course, we can also produce them with machines, but it's something different. And I also speak about the regulation on AI. I don't know whether you know that Europe is the only place in the world where AI is regulated nowadays. There is an AI Act, and there are several rules according to it. But but the real content of the book is really a reflection on poetry, what is poetry, and what is the effect of poetry on the human being, and on how poetry can be precious for us to continue living. When I say living, is living, meaning feeling, meaning expressing ourselves, being creative. Then, of course, we can also enjoy using the machine, but I think for me it's a limitation to our immense, infinite, and beautiful nature. I would leave to this my presentation and open the floor. Thank you very much. You are all inspiring faces and smiling, so very inspiring. Thank you, Aristopoli.
No, when you showed me your book, I was very depressed. Because there is no possibility to buy this book. Or is there a possibility? Where? When? Where? Okay, in this, no, yeah, in civilized bookshops you can get it. On the web you can get it. And I heard the rumor that you are coming with a bag with some copies. Wonderful. And normally the book is costing 85 euro. But here this evening, how much? Okay, now, and the discount is for today all over the world 12. But here in this restaurant, the discount is 10. That means if you have 10 euro, 10, if you have it, please. Okay, now I said enough bullshit to give you time to formulate a question, to raise your hand, a question or a comment. Okay, you are the first. It is the person who has two hearts, one for Malaysia, one for Scotland. Please. Mr. Gray.
Thank you, Frank. You said that creativity was dying, or was dead? Something along those lines? You felt that creativity was dying out?
No, I said that.
I mean, the machine is not creative. I mean, the human being has the real creativity because we can really create. So I'm just saying, there is the risk that if we delegate to AI, for example, the creation of poetry, of especially art, because art for me is really the extreme. I mean, when you ask yesterday I was following today's Segway training in our office on AI, and they explained how to create minutes, for example, from a meeting. So you take the data and you ask the machine, can you create the minutes? And the machine puts the names and... Okay, in that situation, it's something creative, but I mean, you have the data, so it's just a question of putting data together. But when you speak about art, art is really something unique, because when you paint something, or you express yourself in a unique way. I wrote a book on love, which contains, I think, 78 poems, all on love. But I declined the love. Each poem is completely different from the other. And I could continue in an infinite way. So in this way, I mean, that there is a risk, not a risk, it's a reality. When we delegate completely to the machine, the creation, especially for art, in fact, we don't live anymore. I mean, in that moment, we decide, to delegate something which, for me, is vital. Is really, So I would do that for mechanical operation, but never for poetry, for example.
I agree with you, but I don't think AI is killing creativity. I think the mobile phone already killed creativity. I was in an art gallery in London not so long ago, and people were taking photos of all of the paintings. Why would you do that? So I think the phone has killed everything. So,
Exactly, this experience, there was a young boy, I don't remember, it was in a museum, I don't remember where, but, and exactly, so he was taking photos of all the paintings and passing by. So he was visiting the museum, taking photos, and for me, when I'm in front of a painting, I stop and I leave myself. I do the same as a poetry. In my first book, actually, I give a recommendation on how to read my poems. And I say, you look at if you have a painting, you look at the painting, but if you read my poem, you just, you grasp the words, and then you go immediately to the images which the words are linked to, and then you feel your emotions. So in fact, in front of a painting, you see it, but then you need to feel yourself. So if you take a photo, then you don't enjoy really. And so again, you have the product, as I say in the book, you may have a poem or a painting, but the important thing is the act of living, and living is producing art, so producing creativity, the moment when you create a poem, a painting or whatever, and the moment also when you enjoy it. So when you enjoy it, you need to enjoy that moment and the act of, So I had the same experience, and I was wondering why, I mean, then I was wondering, maybe he will go home and he will look at these photos, but I thought, no, maybe it's not the case. Okay.
Before you, I have a recommendation and a request to you. When you go to an arts exhibition, an opening or a finissage of an arts exhibition, what I've discovered is that a huge percentage of people is taking a drink, is eating, and is contacting other people, but not looking on the arts pieces. Therefore, what I do always with my students is, I say, oh, you are now here to drink, to read, to speak, but please tell me what of the paintings or the arts pieces is your favorite? Or if you would have money, what would you buy? And I think it is a respect for the event, the organizers, the artist, and the gallery, that you look on the pieces which are on the walls and let it enter into you what you just described. We have now two people with a comment. One is very easy because he's sitting here, Andrew, or Yannis. And then over there, could you come closer that you can use the microphone? But first, Yannis Volkmanis from Latvia.
Music. And what would you think about it? Music. Have any of your poems been put to music? Have they been turned into songs? And what would you think if that happened?
Yes, actually 2 or 3 poems of my very first book, and that was an interesting experiment I did with one of my previous colleagues from DG Research, Gonzalo Esponera. I don't know if you know him, he still works in DG Research. We tried both ways. I wrote a poem and he put it in music, and on the opposite way, he had some music, and I wrote a poem for his music, because I like these combinations. If you go to my website and on my YouTube, you will see that I merge several times poetry and music, poetry and painting, poetry and chocolate. I made with a chocolatier, a master chocolatier from Belgium. He made the chocolate, we made the pralines with the shape of my poem. It was a story. But anyway, and the video is on YouTube as well. So about music, yes, I did, and I normally actually, when I read poems in my events, normally there is music. Today we didn't organize because normally with this book actually the presentations, I need to say, are more boring because it's not poetry, so I don't read, of course, poetry apart from the short poem I read before. But normally I read poems with music, because actually poetry was born with music, and we call it also in Italian, for example, i canti. We have a big poem from, Dante Alighieri, no? La Divina Commedia, e we have i canti del Purgatorio, i canti del Paradiso. Canti are singing, and poetry actually was born as something verbal, so not written. So, and even now, my book on love, Frank, maybe you don't know, has just been published 2 weeks ago in Arabic. Thank you. And the Quran, I don't know, here maybe there are more experts than me, but the Quran is a poem, is a set of poems. And so for him, for the translator, he was really enthusiastic to translate my book in Arabic, because poetry is together with music. The rhythm, poetry has a rhythm, prose no. So yes, poetry and music are together. I don't know if I've answered to your question. And regarding AI, considering the AI today, also music. There is music made with AI. Okay, it's the same reason. We can do everything, but we need to be aware that we delegate also an act of pleasure, because writing is a pleasure, making music is a pleasure. I had many times composers who created music, normally, because I have now some people with whom I read several times, and they are pianists, or if you go, for example, on the book trailer of my book on love, the one which was translated in Arabic, and it will be soon published in Chinese, Actually, I don't have the thank you. Yes, cheers. And it's also very nice for me. I'm very happy for that. And so, what wanted to say? I was distracted. But okay, anyway, yeah, it's. Sorry. That in this, the book trailer of this book, you have the music which was composed just for my book trailer, and we did it as I normally do with this pianist. I started to read. I told him, okay, now follow me. Follow me meaning you follow me with the emotion, but of course I know the poetic technique, but you know as a musician the musical technique. A painter would have painted it, and so he followed me in music, and you will see the result in the book trailer. I think it's very, very, very nice. I like it. Okay.
Before it's you, I have two short remarks. First, before Ebru will be the next. Your book in Arabic, we all know Saudi Arabia is called Saudi Arabia because King of Saud in the 30s became the king, had dozens of children, and one of his sons created a movement, democracy movement, for free elections. He had to leave, later he could come back. One of his daughters left with her 4 children to London to ask political asylum, and he has a son. The son is an ecologist, the only ecologist from the Saudi family, the grandson of the founding king. And he's governor of a small province, 2.5 times Brussels, no, Belgium, that's the Red Sea, and he will come here to Brussels. And I would like that you are meeting this prince and handing over your Arabic language poetry. This is the first thing. Second thing is you spoke about music out of poetry. What you might not know, I'm a songwriter. I'm writing songs, political songs linked to Cambodia. It's wonderful. I had to write nice text, and then in French. And because please, no, but I'm not singing. But possibly you might have realized how beautifully I'm dressed with silk jacket, different silk jackets. These are gifts from the opposition, the human rights opposition from Cambodia, who are based in France. There's a fashion designer, and therefore she makes me these wonderful silk jackets, which are a disaster because I asked to have big pockets. I was at Delhaize, the house detective said, please come. He thought I had bread and butter or whatever. On the web you find as well songs about Cambodia and yes, the genocide, the Khmer Rouge and things like this as well. But now, Ebru, and I have to admit, before I have not seen you with these glasses, you look now like a professor from Harvard. Ebru!
First of all, thank you for bringing us together and for the presentation and your emotional investment on the book and beyond. I wanted to ask you about your emotional and mental stages you have gone through during the writing process. More or less 8-9 months ago, I've also published my first book, and reflecting back, I can tell there has been lots of different emotional and mental stages that I have gone through in the first part and different stages of writing and publication and afterwards. It's very different. Like I can write another book about the feelings and mental states I have had during this whole process, and I was wondering how was it for you, and also in terms of your other projects that you were involved or you are involved in.
Thank you very much for this question, and it's always interesting to share this kind of experiences with other writers. Moreover, for someone like me who is not a writer, was not born as a writer, even though I was writing since I was 7, 8. But anyway, actually for me, so I never planned to write, for example, to publish or. No, for me, writing is really, as I say on my website, for me, poetry is the breath of my soul. So it's really, it's my breath, and I need to write, and I write because I have an inspiration, and that's it. And then of course, the decision to publish is another step completely different. It's like presenting towards writing. It's completely two different things. So yeah. So, but the writing for me, it's each poem is Silvia, a different Silvia. So it's because it's in that moment, in that place, in that. So it's a unique moment, as I say in some of my poems. It's unique, but it's infinite. So it's a moment where I touch the immense. So it's my pure soul. I'm not physically existing. So each poem is it's like a breath of my soul. I don't know. I think the description. And so then for publication, I just put together poems and I decided to publish them. Moreover, it was not my intention either to publish them. This one came from a friend who is a poet, and she convinced me. And then she convinced me to participate to awards, and I started, and then it became also fun because some people present here, like Antonetta, started to come with me to these award ceremonies. So it became a traveling also. Also my Chinese friend who translated the book, she came with me. So then all these other things are all around, but just if you ask me, only writing, poetry is just that. All the rest is, other things pleasant, of course, but different. Yeah.
The next question is coming from a man who would like to spend the evening on the 21st of May together with you, and most others here together. Why? Because on the 21st of May, in a hotel at the city center, will be the launch of this new Nigerian company who is producing IT programs and who is producing laptops and others. And the head of operation of this company is member Ugundi, Mrs. Question. And you will all get an invitation on this.
Okay, that was surprising, but it's okay. Thank you very much, Frank. So my question to you is, it says the poetry in the age of artificial intelligence. Are you willing to upload your work to the AI to train the AI algorithm so that next time the responses AI will give when it comes to poetry creation will somewhat seem similar to the question that he asked in terms of emotions and this. So are you willing to support him, the growth and training of the AI algorithm with your work and the things you've done?
And to become finally obsolete, possibly, yes.
I think about, but I don't think so. My first, I never thought about, but no, I don't think. Even though I think that once, I don't know, if there is a controlling of the texts, I don't know. I don't know if the system, because information are on the net, and even now my presentation will be on my YouTube, and YouTube will grasp the data. So in the end, but if you ask me voluntarily, if my first spontaneous answer would be no, because I think
But it will happen anyway, because those your texts are on the web. Now, sure. You might have realized that terrible things happened in Geneva. United Nations in Geneva, they are very sad because David Sunderland left Geneva to come to Brussels. Please, your question.
I should say that I had the honour yesterday evening of being pulled in by Sylvia quite unexpectedly to read her part of her poem, and I was the wind. So that's why I'm here this evening. So thank you, Sylvia. I'm going to give a slightly different take to what you're saying. I think the genie is out of the bottle, and that AI does many things much better than humans. For music, and I'll come back to this, there are already many AI published, produced songs which people prefer to human-produced songs. There was an author I read, or an academic, and he said to an AI, write an essay about this in my style. And his students, he gave an essay that he had written and that the AI had written, and the students preferred the AI version. Now, what's you've got to remember about this is what AI can't do. It doesn't have the grit, doesn't have the authenticity of humans. So there will always be a place for sharing discussions in a very human way now. But I do think that with AI you can have very high quality. Now, I am a poet. I've written 4 collections of poetry, 2 of which I've put to music.
Wow!
And using, I could sing, but I won't. I'll spare you that. So the 2 that I put to music was using the it's a site called suno.com, and it can develop its own words, but it can put any words, and it sounds really quite good. So on my website, there's 2 poetry collections, and yeah, I think that that's the way that things are going. But AI doesn't have the authentic experience. I'll come back to that. You might have a relationship with a bot, as many people do, but you don't get the realism and the difficulty and the challenge and the of moving forward with another human being. So I think there's always going to be a place for the authentic human voice, but we need to put things in perspective. In many ways, they do things better than us, and better and better.
You have a comment to this? No.
Well,
I can repeat myself in saying that there are 2 aspects. There is the aspect of, which are 2 chapters of my book, poetry as a product, and so poetry as a product can be produced by a machine. Today can be. And some poems can be even better produced than other poems produced by the human being. But already from that point of view, the expert will always understand if it's produced by a man or a machine. Okay, I have experienced that, but okay. And I think yes, but okay. Anyway, it's possible as a product. But the point, the central point, is the poetry as an act of creation. And so we are not machines, we are human beings, so in our interest, it's the act of producing, and this is only human, the act of producing. So it's a choice. Are we interested in doing something, producing something, whatever it is, or we are not interested, and this is like food. Okay, I'm not interested to cook today, I will I will go to the restaurant, or I will ask the robot to cook for me. It's okay, the product we will eat. It's okay, even though I still think that the food produced by me is better than one. But okay, we will eat. But I enjoy, when I cook something, I put my hands in the food, I cook. So for me, if my plate then is not so delicious as the one of a 3-star Michelin chef, I don't care. But I enjoyed the moment when I do a cake, and when I feel the smell, and because it's done by me. And when I do it, I live, it's me there. This is very important, to be there, to do that, because this is life. If we delegate that, we decide not to live in that action that we decided to delegate, you know? So that's... yeah.
There is a similar field where exactly these two elements are coming together. I'm a green, I'm an ecologist. When I see something that's written handmade, I'm more fascinated than if it's written made in wherever.
That's the difference.
And therefore I think this is the difference. What you are doing is handmade, and the other is made in wherever. Now, we have two other people. First, it is Magdalena Herwig. She is from Wrocław. Our training in history is not excellent necessarily. Wrocław, German Breslau, in southern Silesia, was like the Silicon Valley, was like the region of the Ruhr 400 years ago, because you had there an incredible amount of raw materials which were taken out, not coal, but later coal, but were taken out, silver, gold, copper, a lot of elements, and this whole region is full of still caves, helium, whatever, you know it much better. And in Wrocław, they are very happy that you left, but they are very sad, possibly, that you are left, that you are here now, Magdalena, to ask a question. Please.
Thank you. Wrocław is amazing. I hope you and the visit it sometime.
It is like Paris, it's like London. Because, yes, not short, a river in the middle and a lot of bridges. And very strange people. They are very heartful, they are ambitious, and they're lovely. Including you. Yes. Like Magdalena.
So I have a question about ethics. So back in the day, I used to write poetry as a teenager. At some point I stopped. But recently, a friend of mine who was living in Brussels, and we got a book where we had to write, like I could buy words for him. And I realized, I'm going to write a poetry. I haven't written it for a while. But then I wanted to be creative, and I wanted to write a haiku. So it's
the Japanese.
yes, with some there are some rules to it. But I didn't know, so I used AI. But I spent like 2 hours thinking about the perfect haiku, and I was enjoying the creative part of it, talking with AI. And I think what I created was nice because this person came back to me saying that it was very nice. But then I felt like I have to admit it was with AI. You know, so my question is, to which extent we should be, I don't know, proud of what we created with the little help we had, you know? Was it my work? Was it the AI work? Was it like a dance between me and AI? Is it a question of, you know, was it my work? You know? And I felt a bit ashamed admitting that I use AI. I feel like,
Very short remark to this. I don't agree with you, because when you're a musician and you have an incredible Stradivari, you're making music with the help of a violin of a Stradivari. Like you made something incredible using a tool.
Yes, exactly. I think nobody anyway can judge the choices of the others. This is, I think, my basic ethic principle. But what I think is that exactly what Frank said. In fact, you interacted so in the way that it's exactly. So you used it's like also photos. Before, when the cameras didn't exist, they used to paint, and when the cameras started to exist, the painters were criticizing the photographers because they said, yeah, but the photo is artificial, is not, I'm painting, but I mean, the real photographs are artists, because you need to have the right light to catch the... So even in the use of artificial intelligence, of course, I mean, I'm not anti... then each of us has a preference and so chooses what to do. But I think that you can use the AI as an instrument and be creative using the AI. Why not? I mean, I was also creative in this experiment. I tried different things, so it was also an exercise of creativity. But yeah.
The photographer is not only looking after the light, he should try to catch the soul of the objects, of the subjects he is taking. And now, Nicola Rocca, who is a specialist in all these things linked to the computer. He is the person who is responsible for the technical elements that the trade union, the companies who build the buildings and the administration meet and respect regularly here in Rue Royale. Please, Nicola.
So I have a very easy question. Do you believe that the act of creativity is an act of rebellion?
The creativity of an artist in general?
Yes, an act of rebellion against society or yourself or artificial intelligence.
Well, this is something related to the concept of art. I think nowadays we use words. We should first clarify in which way we use the words, because no, in my view, so my concept of art is the concept of art of the ancient Greeks, of, you know, when you see the harmony of an ancient statue of the ancient Greeks, for example. There you have the harmony, you have the... In fact, these artists had in their mind the use of art to go to the truth, to find the truth. So they had a deep consciousness of using art to find their own truth, to reach. So if you think about art, as you say, how it is intended today, sometimes, many times, today we see art pieces which are symbols of rebellion, or you see even, I don't know, white screen and then you see one dot and that's art. It depends on how you consider art. For me, we can call it a way of rebellion, of course, of expressing sentiment against something, or but for me personally, that's not art. Art should make you feel also better. Should be a recharging way, because you touch again. You go through your own truth, your own soul, and
But you are terrible. I don't like it, because you speak so profoundly that here are two other people want to ask another question because you touched their soul.
Sylvia, could you recite a poem in Italian for us?
Yes, volunteer, because that's what I really like to do, actually, to read poems. I really
And afterwards, Ivo, Adrian. Okay, please, a short comment on what you have just put in our mind.
So I wanted to say that, can we not define rebellion as finding another truth than the existing incumbent truth? I don't know if it makes sense, because I think this is what he meant. In a way, can we not use art to reject the truth, the reality that doesn't fit us, and then create another truth and reality that is fitting to us.
I see what you mean. But for me, when I speak about the truth, is really our own, so the consciousness of our own and unique for each of us identity. So it's not something related to everybody, because each of us has his own identity. So yeah, and when we find really deeply ourselves, we see the order of the whole world, because we are part of a big order, a natural order, and so if you find that in ourselves, then you see everything. So for me, art is an instrument, and that's described in the book, actually, in the chapter, the more philosophical chapter, but it's in an easy way. Poetry is also intended for that. So in previous times, it was an instrument which helped to touch yourself as you are, and to see the order of the universe. I mean, So it's not a truth, societal truth or historical truth, or it's something really deep in ourselves.
You remember Namibia? Adrienne just left Namibia because she was. Huh? What? Adrienne Reichenau from Switzerland just left Namibia, please.
Thank you. Really on the subject of love and artificial intelligence, I came across a research paper which had to do with what does AI do to children. A cuddly toy was invented from China. It has a microphone and a loudspeaker, and a child can talk to it and ask questions, amongst other things. So I think it's in Cambridge, actually, Cambridge Image, they're doing this, finding out, so the tester was asking the cuddly toy, do you love me? And the answer was, from artificial intelligence, this is not in my competence.
Wow!
That's reassuring.
Full of wisdom. And now you have chosen the poem in Italian. Okay, while she's looking, look, I love Italian language. I learned Italian because if you look German, 12, douze, but in Italian, 11, 14. There's so much fire, so much fire, so much energy in Italian. And for me, because I believe in paradise, I think in paradise everyone speaks Italian. It's full of joy. And do you have now a poetry? No, they speak Vatican English, but it is. But please, what you've chosen?
I told you about the first book, but I was inspired by love, and this is the book of love, on love, which was translated in Arabic and in Chinese. And actually, I need to say that normally I take photos also. So when I get the inspiration, normally it's in a natural environment, and I take the photo and then I write the poem. So all my books are normally accompanied by the photos, which are not by chance, are the photos of the moment of inspiration. And this one actually is from China, from Chengdu, where there is the biggest reserve of pandas. And here you have a big panda with a small little baby panda. So yeah, because this book on love is love 360 degrees. So not only love between two people, but love of nature and the love which is again life. Because love is life is love. So without love we couldn't live. And so this poem is, maybe I will read it in English first in order to understand, and then I will read the Italian version. The strength of love. You are strong in silence, my love, that embraces with light the contours of things. Your power is ever present with love that is current. You are a push of infinity, a perfume revealing explicitly. A glance on an expression, always a new iteration. When you discover these moments in which all feelings nascent are deep and you feel them, then you see with amazement how great love is. La forza dell'amore. Sei forte nel silenzio, amore mio. Yes. Yeah.
You listen, right? Now compare how she speaks.
Yeah, especially actually I didn't put my glasses, but I will. Yeah, it's okay. La forza dell'amore. Sei forte nel silenzio, amore mio, che abbraccia di luce i profili delle cose. Sei presente con potenza dell'amore che si presenzia. Sei una spinta di infinito, un profumo mai sopito, uno sguardo, una parola, sono sempre cosa nuova. Quando scopri quei momenti in cui tutti i sentimenti sono profondi e tu li senti, allora vedi con stupore quanto grande sia l'amore. Thank you very much. And thank you, Frank, for all this.
This was the end of this session with Sylvia. And I propose to you, if you have a chance, learn Italian as well. Yes, get it? Because the next one will be 30 seconds, a personal history. I fell in love with an Italian lady. I spoke already Latin from school, Spanish from university, and as a Christmas gift, I went for 2 weeks to Italy. 5 days in Roma, 5 days in Taormina in Sicily, 5 days in Florence for the accent, with 3 professors at that place, 4 hours in the morning, 4 hours in the afternoon, 4 hours in the evening. And at the end, I spoke Italian. And I spoke Italian to her. Vaffanculo. Finito! Our laugh finished. Therefore, I never speak to Italian ladies in Italian because my accent might be terrible or whatever. But on the other hand, Italian language stays, and therefore, test it with yourself. If you speak Italian, suddenly it's a fire in your words, much more than in English, German. And therefore, this is one of the reasons why I adore you, and I think this is similar to most people here. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much! Finito. Wow! And I have to tell you a secret. Normally, 10 10 minutes presentation, 10-15 minutes question and answers, and we have, I think, more than 16 minutes already, the question and answer session, even much more, due to your input, to your charm, your poetry, and your special personality. Thank you, Silvia Polidori!
Follow me on my website, silviapolidoripoetry.eu. You can subscribe to the newsletter, and there will be other events and books and many things coming. So if you want to join, then you know everywhere in Europe for the moment, but it will be also in the world, because I will go to Tunisia for this version in Arabic. And in China maybe for the Chinese version.
And you will be invited as well to the future award ceremonies. Up to now, she has only some 60 and something awards. It might be more, and if you are then present in that place, you might be then tempted to attend this award ceremony to highlight our star, Silvia Polidori.